Hey friend, this is the Traveling Wellnesspreneur podcast, and I'm your host, Allie Temple. I travel full-time running my dream wellness biz from the tropics, and I want to share with you how you can create a lifestyle of freedom and purpose too. Stay tuned for inspiring and fun conversations that will empower you to take action towards your dream lifestyle of travel and freedom. Let's get into it. Welcome back to the Traveling Wellnesspreneur podcast. Now, if you missed the recent summit, Liberate Your Life, be sure to check out the show notes for info on how you can purchase access to the 9 expert interviews and 3 masterclass replays. We had so much fun at the summit in the last couple of weeks, and it was really great to connect with so many other like-minded, travel-loving entrepreneurs who are looking to pursue a life of travel and wellness and purpose. And this is what leads into a really fun announcement that I've been working so hard behind the scenes for years now, cultivating this program. If you haven't heard, my new program, Location Liberation, is open for enrollment. And if you are catching this before April 7th, you can enroll in the program at 50% off and receive some awesome bonuses worth over $1,500. Location Liberation is a 12-week group coaching program for heart-led entrepreneurs who are ready to level up their lifestyle and start traveling in a sustainable and healthy way. Over 3 months together, we will build your personalized roadmap to location freedom. Whether for you that means you want to dip your toe into a travel and remote work lifestyle, or you want to move abroad, or you want to go location independent and travel long term, this program will cover everything you need to know, from what to pack, how to choose the right destination, travel visas and insurance, budgeting, taking care of your health. So check out the show notes for the link to learn more and join us in this unique program. I'm super excited about those of you who have already saved your spot. Now, if you did miss the summit, today I want to share just a portion of one of the interviews. This is with Nora Dunn, and Nora is the OG digital nomad. I'm so excited to also share that Nora is one of my expert coaches in the Location Liberation program. You'll hear from this interview just how much knowledge and wisdom that Nora has to share when it comes to travel and all things budgeting. So if you don't know yet about Nora, Nora is also known as the Professional Hobo. She sold everything she owned, including a busy financial planning practice, to travel the world back in 2006. Nora has enjoyed a travel lifestyle ever since and is considered one of the original digital nomads and lifestyle travel bloggers. Specializing in slow travel, Nora has lived in and traveled through over 75 countries while working remotely. She combines her expertise as a former certified financial planner with her lifestyle travel experience to teach people how to travel long-term in a financially sustainable way. So you're gonna love this conversation. Let's get right to the interview with Nora. Nora, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you here. Do you want to start off by just letting us know where in the world are you?
Thank you as well for having me here. It's an honor and a pleasure. And I come to you today from Bulgaria. As you can see, there's a little bit of snow on the roofs behind me. This is a momentous year for me because I love experimental travel. I love kind of doing new things and trying new ways of living and traveling around the world. And this is my first winter in 18 years since I started traveling full-time as a digital nomad. I decided I would test a theory that snow is actually fun if you can play in it rather than having to commute through city snow. And so far so good. I'm really enjoying snow in the mountains.
That's good to know. My husband is really pushing me to go to the mountains, and I am a tropical gal, so
right.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's very timely. I will probably not show him this conversation.
Fair play.
Yeah. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit. For those who don't already know, can you give us a little story behind when and why? I know you started traveling in 2006. Why did you make that shift, and what was your life like before you started traveling?
So before I started traveling, I was working as a financial planner. I was living in Toronto, Canada. And you could say that I had achieved all of the modicums of success as society would define it. I had a good career. I had all the accoutrements of a comfortable lifestyle. And technically, I'd reached a tipping point in running my business where technically all I had to do for the rest of my career was just work incrementally less and make incrementally more. So it was counterintuitive for me to do what I did next, which was to sell everything, including the practice, so I could travel the world. And the reason I sold everything was this desire to travel the world was something that had been with me all of my life. At the root of it was really this fundamental desire, this need to understand. I wanted to crack the code of countries around the world, as it were. I wanted to understand what people talk about around dinner tables. Really, I wanted to get underneath the surface of destinations. And I had tried with vacations over the years to try to gain that deeper understanding of these destinations I was visiting. But of course, I realized that if I really wanted to do this, I had to go all in, and I had to embrace travel as a lifestyle. I had to give myself the freedom and ability to stay for as long as I wanted in a destination and to explore whatever rabbit holes I found while I was there. I decided to sell everything. That was it. That was the only decision. I didn't know words like digital nomad, remote work, location independent. They were not yet a part of the lexicon. So I didn't know what I would do, where I would go, how I would earn money along the way, or even if this was just something I had to work out of my system for a few months. But what I did know is I wanted to give myself that ultimate freedom to explore the world at my leisure. And of course, along the way, I did have this, lightning bolt moment where I thought, hey, wait a minute, with a laptop and an internet connection, whoa, I can make a living. And from there, it's all history. I started developing my career in business as a freelance writer at first, parlaying my financial expertise as well as my travel experience with a variety of publications. But then also, too, I had a travel blog on the side, which was just a hobby. That's all blogs were at the time. But as blogging became actually a recognized industry and something that could be a business and something that could be monetized, I was lucky enough to be considered one of the OG travel bloggers. And so it all went from there. My business has evolved many times over in the last 18 years. Today, I call myself a content creator. I feel like that's probably the best umbrella term for what I do because I create content across a number of different platforms to help people design their lifestyles and arrange their affairs so that they can travel long term while working remotely.
I feel like you've said that once or twice before.
Who, me? No. That was the first time I ever did that.
That is such a great story, and I love that you just went for it, and here you are many years later, still traveling. So I have a feeling you learned some things along the way, and you have this unique background as a certified financial planner. So I'm curious, when people come to you and say that they would love to travel full time, but they can't afford it, and these are people in Western societies with kind of a traditional lifestyle. I know I hear that one a lot. And when someone says that to you, what are your thoughts? What do you tell them? I'm so curious to hear that answer.
So I was actually more surprised than anybody else, that full-time travel as a lifestyle could be financially sustainable. So in my first few years of traveling the world, ever the financial planner, I tracked all of my expenses because I wanted to see how much it was costing me to travel full time. Now, I will admit up front, I was employing some creative strategies to keep my expenses low along the way, because one of the experiments I was performing at the time was to see how I could save money along the way. And so I was doing a lot of work exchange and house sitting and whatnot, and saving a lot of money on accommodation. However, anyway, at the end of the day, I was tracking my expenses. And in my first couple of years of full-time travel, two interesting things I discovered. One of which was my cost to travel full-time was exactly the same in those 2 years without any effort on my part to make it that way. And two, that cost, that amount of money that I spent was 17,000 US dollars. So it's $17,000 all in. I mean, that's all of my expenses, business, personal, travel, and otherwise, to live around the world. And I thought, whoa, that was less than I ever spent to live in Toronto. It was when I realized that travel actually doesn't have to cost. Like many people, we associate the word travel with vacation. And when we think of vacationing, we take a vacation budget. How much would you spend on a 1 week luxurious vacation? You multiply that times 52. Well, of course, travel isn't financially sustainable. But when it is a lifestyle, as I learned along the way, it can be a completely different kettle of fish. So for the next 10 years, I tracked and published my annual expenses and my income with the sole mission of proving to the world that travel could be financially sustainable. And that was actually how I quite inadvertently ended up coining the term financially sustainable travel, which has nothing to do with budgets, nothing to do with, environmental sustainability, although both are great. But financially sustainable travel is really about balancing the money in with the money out so that you can travel for as long as you wish.
That's a pretty good answer. You figured some things out over the years, and because you have all of this knowledge and the background to go with it, can you share a few budgeting tips? So for those who are watching this, listening to this, and are entrepreneurs who want to start traveling, where would you suggest that they begin as far as budgeting or tracking finances goes?
I will share some esoteric ideas as well as some practical tips and apps and whatnot. It really boils down to you. Everybody's travel lifestyle, when travel is a lifestyle, everybody's style of travel is going to be very different. For financially sustainable travel, hedges on the pillars of money in and money out, and then balancing the two. So as an entrepreneur, if you are earning a very comfortable living, you may make some different choices about how you spend that money on the road. So I'm here to assure you that regardless of the phase that you're in, it is achievable, travel as a lifestyle. It really just depends on the choices that you make. So let's assume that you are working with a smaller budget, because if you have a whole bunch of money, then it's easy. You just travel in whatever way you want and it's all good. But there are a few principles that anybody can apply in order to keep their cost of travel, shall we say, reasonable, or to more of a strict budget. The first thing is go slow. The slower you travel, the less money you'll spend for a variety of different reasons. From an accommodation perspective, it means that you will be able to rent a place and spend less than you would if you're traveling short term. You're usually stuck with hotels or Airbnbs, nightly rates much higher than what a monthly rate would be. And also too, things like, when you're staying in a place that probably, if you're staying for a few months, you probably have a kitchen. So you're probably shopping, you're not eating all of your meals out. That's a money saver. And then also too, it's a more culturally immersive and rewarding experience to spend a little bit longer at a destination. From a sustainability aspect, you can't go, you might think that changing locations every month as a digital nomad is a good idea. And it's okay for a short period of time, but it is going to wear you down. So most digital nomads that I know say that 3 months in a destination is kind of a sweet spot, but some will go for 6 months or even longer. And with a lot of the digital nomad visas that are coming out, we have the ability to stay longer and longer in the countries that we are visiting and use it as a base for exploration of the areas around there. So that's another money saver. Another money saver is, let's look at the accommodation aspect. Now, if you really want to go budget, or if you really want to save money in a really creative and conscious way, you can do what I did in my first 10 years of full-time travel. I saved over $100,000 on accommodation in my first 10 years by getting it for free, or mostly getting it for free. Like, I think my best year was, I think I spent $173 on accommodation in 365 days.
Gosh.
Right. And that was actually a splash out in Sweden. And yeah, I wrote a book about it. But those ways include volunteering, house sitting, hospitality exchanges like couch surfing, home exchanges, and even living on boats. Now, I'll also cut through the noise and say, as an entrepreneur, you're probably spending a fair bit of time on your business.
Yeah.
And that's going to be your main focus. So things like volunteering and trade for accommodation may not be realistic. You're not going to have the sort of time you need for your business and yourself. So the most conducive form of free accommodation, if you're an entrepreneur, is house sitting. If you like fur babies, there's usually fur babies involved in the care thereof. So a lot of people like that. And then you get a chance to live a slice of local life by virtue of living in a local's home. And all the time you need, and also the kind of the structure that you need. Most people in their homes have a space where you can get some work done and good Wi-Fi and whatnot. So home exchanges is another way. If you have a home to exchange, you can use your home as collateral to get free accommodation abroad by opening up your home to travelers while you're away.
Yeah, and there are more apps and programs coming out for both of those, right? The house sitting and the home exchanges. I've been hearing more and more about those. I did a bunch of house sitting this past summer when I came back to the Vancouver area, and I just didn't want to, pay those premium short-term accommodation prices in beautiful places in the summer. So, and it really is so nice to get your pet time in and your snuggles and all of that with the animals. That's a really great tip for those who are maybe looking at starting out and don't have a huge budget or might not be sure of what their budget is. Maybe they're still growing their business. And then if we move forward and think about those who maybe have already been traveling, have a more established business, and are still looking for budget tips or ways to travel well. Something that I love about you is you talk about travel in style. And we're not all 20-year-old backpackers. And for me, I like to be comfortable when I travel. And traveling full time and being comfortable, it's almost like an oxymoron. Like it's not that easy to do, right? So, what can those who are already traveling and have, a higher budget still travel well and kind of up level their lifestyle?
The next way to save money, of course, is on transportation. Now, you'll save money on transportation by traveling slowly, in that the fewer planes, trains, buses, automobiles, tuk-tuks, taxis, scooters, whatever you're getting on, the less money you'll spend. But of course, air travel is, we were just talking before we hit record, that air travel is just off the charts in terms of how expensive it is these days. And I don't think that that's a trend that's going to reverse itself anytime soon. However, I'm also pleased to say that most of my long haul flights are in business class for less than economy prices. And I do this through the strategic use of frequent flyer miles. So if you do want to level up your game and you want to travel in style, and still save money while you're at it, that's a great thing to be able to do. Now, you are trading time for that pleasure and that perk of traveling in business class. However, if you can spend maybe $100 or so out of your pocket and have an $8,000 long haul journey, I think you would also agree that that is worth the time you spend figuring out that game. So that's an interesting tip or trick. Yeah. The other thing that I might like to suggest that will help you have a completely different experience and perhaps give you a little bit more work-life balance, as well as more of a connectedness with other people who share this lifestyle. Just as a tiny bit of context here, I actually, after my first 12 years on the road, I completely burnt out of the travel lifestyle. And the reason for that is in those 12 years, I was living super locally everywhere I went around the world, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I would not do it any other way, even if I had to do it all over again. But what I didn't realize was after 12 years that nobody kind of understood me or my lifestyle or anything along those lines, I realized I'd lost all sense of belonging in the world. So I went back to Canada and got a place in Canada thinking that I was looking for my people. Like I'm like, I need my people, so Canada must be my people. So I'll go back to Canada. And I got back to Canada and realized actually they're not the people that I was looking for. And the people that I was looking for are people who also have this lifestyle. Yeah, they are fellow entrepreneurs and they do travel long term and they work remotely while they travel, because it's a completely different animal when travel is your lifestyle and you work along the way than if you're traveling as a vacation. So the suggestion that I have that might help people elevate their own lives and lifestyles is to look into co-living and co-working programs. There's lots of these kinds of programs out there. I recently did a month with Hacker Paradise in Estonia. That was amazing. I plan on doing a month with Remote Year this year. And these are experiences that can be 1 month, 4 months, even 1 year with Remote Year, and that allow you to live and travel with a group of people who also share this lifestyle with you. Now, you don't have to go all in on one of these programs either. There are more and more co-living houses and spaces opening up around the world where you can just show up and you can book a room in a co-living space. And again, you'll have all the comforts. This is like hostels, extraordinaire. It's a different lifestyle. So you'll get your own room, you get your comforts, often with ensuite bathrooms and everything, because I also insist on having my own bathroom. Yeah. There's a great social opportunity there. And then co-living houses will also do things like make sure that there's good internet and also ergonomically friendly workspaces so you can get your work done along the way as well.
That is such a great tip. I know I've spent a lot of time in Bali and I'm headed back there soon. It's big there, those co-living spaces. And it's like you said, it's so important to find your people and connect with others who are doing the same thing as you. And I think that is really one of the biggest secrets to long-term sustainable travel as an entrepreneur. So I'm really glad you brought that up. And yeah, I think for me personally, this past year, I've been moving around way too much. And if you ask me, I would say I prefer slow travel, I'm a slow traveler, has not happened this past year. So I'm looking forward to slowing down in 2024 and finding that rhythm and finding my people.
What do you think is a good rhythm for you?
For me, at least 3 months. And my husband and I are both at a point now where we're gonna go to Bali and get a 1 year, get a 1 year lease, and at least have that landing pad. Yeah, we're like, it's time for a break, because the past year for me there's been one time where I've been in a place for over a month. Most have been less than a month. And it's just like, how do you run a business and, take care of yourself doing that? For me, not happening. You've got tons of great videos on your YouTube channel. I was just watching your recent Travel Hacking 101 video. It's a little bit of a mind blown situation for me. I need to dive further into that. And before we go today, I would love for you to just tell us a little bit more about your business and how you support others through your love of travel.
Great. Well, there's a couple of different places that I can be found online, and depending on where you find me and which rabbit hole you dive down, that will determine the sort of content that you're going to get. So my first and foremost home online has been my website, which is theprofessionalhobo.com. And that's where I really dive deep with a lot of the content to help people design their lifestyles and arrange their affairs to travel long term. So that's where you're going to see a lot of digital nomad friendly specific content. In addition to, clothing and gear reviews, and my love of packing cubes knows no end. So you'll see a fair bit of stuff about that. And in fact, actually, anyone who is interested in long-term travel as a lifestyle, I do have a free gift for anyone who is watching this and is interested. If you go to theprofessionalhobo.com/free gift, what I have for you is a checklist of 10 things to do before you travel long-term. And this is something that's going to get your juices flowing about the sort of things you need to think about, a few of which I'm willing to bet you haven't yet considered if you're new to this lifestyle. So this will help you cover all the bases so that you can hit the road stress-free. You can focus on your work and your travel, because those two are going to be very consuming while travel is a full-time lifestyle for you, and you'll know that you've got everything taken care of in the best way possible. If you like to watch YouTube and you like travel tips and gear reviews and whatnot, so then definitely check me out on YouTube. And if you just search for Nora Dunn, you will find me there. Yeah. And yeah, I have a weekly show called Travel Smart in Style. And I also have some playlists with gear reviews and whatnot for people who are looking for the optimal luggage or clothing or remote work tools and tricks and tips. And those are a little bit more general in terms of travel, but I do like to throw some digital nomad content in there. Things like, how it was that I sold everything that I owned and how to kind of dive into minimalist lifestyles, as well as the realities of the digital nomad lifestyle, good, bad, and otherwise, because I have no desire to sugarcoat this lifestyle for anybody. The last thing that you need to do is get into this and then realize that it's not your jam. So it is my goal, my mission, my desire to be able to help people get into this lifestyle and to not feel disillusioned by it when they get in.
I love that so much. So we can really do a deep dive into all of your content and check out your freebie, and we'll share that information as well. Nora, thank you so much for joining us today. I so appreciate your wisdom, your guidance, and sharing some really practical, simple, profound tips with us around traveling in style and traveling well.
Ali, thank you again for having me. It has been a pleasure. And I always love these kinds of things because it allows me to get to know you a little bit better too.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Bye.
That's it for now. Thanks so much for joining me. And until next time, let's stay connected. Follow me on Instagram at Ali Temple Yoga. Join us in the Traveling Wellnesspreneurs Facebook group. And if you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. See you next time.